military in the street, the FEMA camp, the tech company that monitors everything, the surveillance. This is all of that. And the people you'd think would be upset about it are kind of cheerleading it. They think it's great.
Hi everyone, JJ here. Welcome back. Well, today we're going to talk about American fascism. Yes, who would have thought? Neo-fascism, if you like, involving Trump, of course. Some of you might have seen some videos on my other channel, the politics channel, but what the hell, I'm going to talk about it here because I think it's important. But there's a little bit of humor involved. We're going to listen to Tim Dillon here as well, what he's been saying about it. Now, he is a MAGA supporter. Well, he seems to be moving a bit away from that, realizing what's going on. And also Joe Rogan, we're not going to play him here, but he has also been moving away from it, criticizing what Trump's been doing, including this military in the streets, the National Guard in the streets, troops in the streets. We'll listen to what Tim Dillon says, and we'll look at what's actually going on. Let's get into it.
I don't love this takeover of the this militarized police. I don't love it. No. I do understand we have a crime problem in cities. I'm not blind to it. I get it. I see people all the time and I go, that's a problem. Not in a racial way. I'll just see someone who sparks my concern. As someone who seems like they're on drugs or a shifty looking character, you know, and I'll say somebody's got to deal with that, but it's got to be the cops, right? We don't need National Guard, or do we? I don't know that we do. All of the stuff that's happening right now, the militarized police, Palantir building the list. I don't love all of this. It seems like the precursor to the next thing. And the next thing might be much worse than this one.
Indeed. Now we have defunding the police. Remember that? We had on the left, defund the police. And now we have National Guard on the streets because Big Balls got beaten up in DC. Well, that was the excuse for it. Elon Musk involved again there. Elon Musk's big balls, as you will. But really, National Guard on the streets, defund the police. Perhaps we could have something in between. The US could have something in between that. As Tim says here, I agree with him. The police should deal with this, but do people really want this? There are people cheerleading this and really wanting this to happen. And Tim talks about that a bit later on, what he thinks, the culture in America is, why it's come to this at this point. And as I said, he's moving away from it. It seems he's a Trump supporter, MAGA supporter. So these guys, especially these comedians, seem to be definitely moving away, criticizing more and more week by week as things are going on, as it unfolds. He didn't mention other things that are going on that now we're going to lay out. So the guys from Internet Today, and I know my channel, my pod shares some audience with them. I see that in the analytics. So some of you might have seen this before, but I think it's worth doing this again. They've put together a compilation of things that have happened just since January, and it's quite alarming when you see it all together.
Sorry if we're missing some stuff, but we've got masked secret police doing warrantless raids on local businesses, showing up at people's homes, pulling them out of cars, grabbing them at their court appearances, or just snatching them directly off the street. We've got multiple investigations into the president's enemies, which include former government officials, some of whom were involved in his own previous administration. Military deployed on city streets around the country with threats to expand the military presence into other metropolitan cities whose leadership runs afoul of the president. The near complete destruction of mainstream press, from local newspapers to national outlets all the way up to major media conglomerates who have not only fired large swaths of their workforce but have also paid to settle lawsuits with the president with an understanding that they should avoid being critical of him. Mm-hmm. We have alienated ourselves around the world through tariffs and an unwillingness to work with our now former allies. The leader of our country is facing a scandal where he's been accused of unspeakable acts alongside the world's most notorious sex trafficker while his party runs cover for him. He's working to redraw electoral maps in order to stay in power.
He's caused irreparable damage to government programs and institutions that help people both here and abroad, while also having a squad of teenagers siphon up people's most private and sensitive data. He's accepted gifts from a long line of businesses and world leaders who are eager to use his power to give themselves the upper hand, while also recently starting a government takeover of certain American businesses. He's pressured local governments into banning books or certain curriculum from schools. He's defunded public broadcasting. He's fired nonpartisan government officials because he didn't like the numbers they were putting out. He wants to have an MMA match on the White House lawn for the country's birthday next year. And he's trying to ban flag burning. I don't think we really need to go on. I think you get the picture. There's plenty more, but each one of those things is a serious attack on democracy and the American way of life. And it should shock you. These are all just a few of the things that have happened since January.
Yep, that's pretty alarming. So if you're not aware of some of those things, or, perhaps you agree with some of those things that have happened, MAGA supporters may agree with some of those things. And I know people in the comments of political videos, and I've seen them out there saying, well, the Democrats did this, went after political opponents, went after Trump, and they did this and they did that. But it's really doesn't compare to the slide. You could say that American democracy has been sliding for quite a long time, more than 10 years incrementally. But the slide that's happened since January is pretty incredible, and that's an alarming list indeed. So now we're going to look at what Tim Dillon says in the rest of that rant about this, where he talks it through. I've edited it a little bit together. And I think he's right about some of these things for sure. And I see some MAGA people starting to come around, especially these comedians who do have large audiences. So that's good to see that people are already, well, I can say already, but finally waking up, because it's been like week after week, these things. And now they have the troops on streets expanding from city to city. And that's what Tim is talking about here, what he thinks about that, and I'm going to respond to it. But first, if you're getting value out of this episode so far, do remember to hit that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. I really appreciate that. All right, so let's get into the rest of what Tim says here. Well, it's not everything. This podcast is long, well over an hour, and he is somewhat concerned, although it's, putting it in a funny way, of course.
My point is this. It's a violent city, D.C. These are violent cities. The cities are violent, folks. They're just violent. What are you going to do? I don't know that you could have them, but you got to beef up the police force. You don't want military. No one's going to want to visit this country. Tourism's already dropping. Vegas hotel rooms are down like 33%. Nobody wants to be in a city where there's military everywhere.
Okay, so you might have seen that video I did about the Las Vegas slump in tourism. That's definitely happening. And I've said before that I'm not visiting the US. I would really like to. I'd really like to visit, maybe do a live show there and meet some of the community. But I'm not going to do that. What's going to happen? I'm from New Zealand, which is supposedly a friendly country, but doing videos just like this, am I going to show up at the border and get thrown into alligator Auschwitz or sent to El Salvador to a gulag there? Who knows? Or just get returned back, sent back on a 15+ hour flight. That's torture enough in itself.
It's like after 9/11. It wasn't like great when there was just people like National Guard walking around for years after 9/11. It gives you this eerie feeling. I don't think anybody wants to really visit a city where there's just going to be like National Guard everywhere.
No.
I mean, this is now, if you visit America, this is what you see, by the way. Make this louder. If you visit the United States of America on a summer trip, this is what you get.
Fun. Troops in the streets.
What are they doing? It really, listen, you need cops, but you got to just have cops.
Yeah.
Can't put the military everywhere in the city. It's like this country really does have a fascist kind of wet dream where they like the idea of the military so much. Now, we all need a military. I respect the people in the military. They've done things that are genuinely heroic. Everyone thinks about like these guys just bashing the skull in of someone on the street.
So in between there, I edited that a little bit. He talked about, during disasters, natural disasters, that the National Guard troops help out. And that's a good thing. That's a heroic thing. But as he says there, people also like the idea of, troops on streets, policing, but they don't think about, you actually want to protest something. Maybe some of these MAGA people want to protest something at some point. You show up to protest and there's National Guard there, and Trump can go, we don't want that. So this is the creep that can happen. People are cheerleading, yay, troops on the streets. But then what can happen after that, which Tim does point out.
And everybody, and nobody thinks that will ever be them.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're like, there's people that are applauding like the military in the street and the show of strength. But does no one imagine that at any given time, the government could just decide that you're an enemy of the state? They've already got the cops on the street that are not cops or that are the military. They've already got the National Guard on the street. They already have all your information in D.C. And
as I was talking about companies working with the government there, he has talked about Palantir, specifically Palantir hoovering up data, and Elon Musk help with that with Doge. There's leaks coming out now, whistleblowers saying that a lot of data was hoovered up there. It seems like that's what Elon was really doing. A lot of my other videos are about Elon and what he was really doing with Doge, what he's doing and the lies that he tells elsewhere. But Palantir is working with the government. If you look up like definition of fascism, there are different ones. Neo-fascism, it's the government working really closely with corporations like that. And you've noticed that these big tech companies have been sucking up to Trump, suddenly bending the knee to him. Media have been too. As we saw in that list, all the media stuff that's happened since January. Like, it's this creep that's happening, and sometimes people don't see it. I think they're just going about their daily lives. Maybe they start to see troops on the streets of the cities that have had it, and no doubt that's going to expand. And if there's some sort of crisis that happens, an excuse that they can crack down more and more. This is the danger. And if we look back to places like 1930s Germany, I know people don't like that example, but they did have troops on the streets on every corner, the secret police, different areas of that regime. So more and more militarized as time goes by, and suddenly it's too late to do anything about it.
now they just get to decide what is and isn't over the line. That should scare everybody. You're fucking nuts, dude. If this doesn't scare you, you're nuts. All these things that Alex Jones was like worried about when I listened to him in the late 90s, early 2000s are...
People criticize me for putting Alex Jones in that last video about Trump's health, saying, what are you quoting Alex Jones for? You're losing credibility. But the fact is that Alex Jones is super MAGA, and, in this context, it's interesting because the conspiracy theories that Alex Jones had and, to do with, the school shootings, that was, disgusting what he says. A lot of the things he's disgusting, but this is the point of what the conspiracy theories that Alex Jones had a while ago. Now all this stuff is actually happening, all the military stuff and the surveillance stuff, but the people that were calling it out back then are cheerleading at this time. I mean, did they forget? Did they forget that they had all that stuff? Is it just because it's their guy? It's their guy doing it. Suddenly it's okay.
And he, I don't know where he is on all of that stuff, but like, I know he's a big fan of Trump, but like, this is everything Alex Jones always talked about. Military in the street, the FEMA camp, the tech company that monitors everything, the surveillance. This is all of that. I mean, not to sound like a fucking nut. This is everything a crackhead. And I don't even mean a crackhead like crack, but a guy smoking weed in a room with a fucking black light and a fucking, insane clown posse tattoo on his arm. I'm thinking of a very specific guy I was friends with. But this is everything that guy would have talked about. He'd be like, bro, there's going to be military in the street. They're going to put you in jail for fucking Your fucking thoughts, man. If you just say them, bro, you're going to be in fucking jail. There's going to be a fucking company that monitors everything you do, bro. Like, this is literally the wet dream of every conspiracy theorist that has ever lived, and it's happening now. And the people you'd think would be upset about it are kind of cheerleading it. They think it's great. So isn't that fun?
Yeah, he makes really good points there, I think. He might be starting to come around. He sees it. As I said, he was a supporter. Joe Rogan was a supporter. There were others who went MAGA, and they are starting to call out little by little. It hasn't come around yet, but it looks like they're starting to see what happens. And what did it take? Military in the streets to make it happen. Anyway, what do you think about this? I'd love to know what you think about this particular subject. Is fascism or neo-fascism here? Is it the creep? Is it sliding quickly into that? Is it already too late? You notice that Trump is targeting, Democratic cities, so opponents, and we saw that list of other things that have happened. I'd love to know what you think about this. Do let me know. And right now, I am going to put a related link below me here on screen and also a subscribe link. Do subscribe to this if you want to get more of these kinds of videos from me in the very near future. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.